Sanhedrin, this is referring to the Sanhedrin Gadol. The red actually, I take that back. Although the Mishnah is primarily referring to the Sanhedrin Gadol, Rashi also points out that this formation applied to the Sanhedrin Akatan, the 23 members of Sanhedrin as well. They were arranged in a semicircle, in order that the respective judges should be able to see one another. They had two court scribes. I guess this was the equivalent of the court stenographer. But they had two court scribes who would stand before the judges. One on the left, one on the right. They would both, it seems to be what the Gemara is saying here, is the Mishnah saying that they would both write the words of the accuser and the words of the defendant. Now, take a look at Rashi for just a moment. Rashi says, why do they sit in a semicircle? The judges were arranged in a semicircle in order that they should all be able to see each other. So we'll discuss why the judges need to see each other. But the semicircle is the only formation where they can all see each other, as well as to be able to see those who are testifying, the plaintiff, the defendant, the witnesses, and everyone else. Two scribes, Rashi, the Kosim Dermazak, the Dermachai, which name Kosim Dermazak. So also, according to this first opinion in Mishnah, saying you had two scribes, and both scribes transcribed the words of the accuser and the words of the defendant. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Shlosha. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, there were three scribes. One scribe wrote the words of the accuser, I should say the defendant, and the other one, the other scribe, wrote down the reports of the accuser. Just so you understand something amazing. So, we live in a digital age. So all you need to do when you hear testimony from someone is record it. And if you're unsure about a detail, then what do? You play it back. Rabbi says, how does the Mishnah arrange for a system where you ensure that you have accurate record taking? They had three stenographers. One recorded the testimony of the accuser, one recorded the testimony of the defendant, a third one recorded both testimonies. So you essentially have two different complete versions of each testimony, which you could cross-reference against each other. So the Gemara says, V'shalosh shuros shel tamidei chachamim yoshim mipnei. Here's what's amazing. We actually reference this in the beginning of the Sefra. There are three rows of talmidei chachamim who sat before the judges. So just so you understand, so I just have to tell you the hashgacha pratis of learning. I'll say afterwards hashgacha pratis. But just the lashon over here makes it sound like the three rows of students are sitting in front of the judges. They're actually sitting in back of the judges. So the judges are seated in a semicircle. And behind the judges is like a gallery. In that gallery, there is an actual gallery where the public was invited to join. But behind the Sanhedrin were three rows of Talmidei Chachamim. Three rows of the L'chol echad makiyas makom. I will say now the seating was very specific. The seating was very specific, meaning the first row were the most prominent Talmidei Chachamim, second row, second most prominent, and third row, third most prominent. Kol echad ve'echad makiyas makom. I will say here this lashon. You see, I would say to be great in life, it's not just enough to amass knowledge. Anybody can amass knowledge. A person has to know who they are and who they're not. So the greatness about these heroes of the Nilcham, Kol Echad Makires Makomo. So the guy in the second row knew I'm a second row guy. I'm not a first row guy. The guy in the first row knew I'm a first row guy, not a third row guy. Kol Echad Makires Makomo. So watch this. So now, why do they have? Remember, we touched on this earlier in the Sefra. Why do they have these heroes that come in before them? Why do they have these heroes? Because what's like in the event? Remember, I'll test you just to make sure you've been keeping up on Sanhedrin while I was away. So what happens if one of the judges said, "I don't know. I can't reach an opinion in this particular case"? What's the halacha? All right. The halacha is right. It's as if he's absented himself from the ruling. Meaning, again, a no vote is as if you're non-existent. So what do we do if one judge is not existent? You have to get a replacement judge. Where do you get a replacement judge? They literally pull someone from the bench. There's three benches behind the dayanim. They pull someone from the bench. And I will say that often those Talmidei Chachamim who were sitting in the three benches didn't have smicha. So if they needed to fill a vacancy on the Sanhedrin, they would grant them smicha. And where would they pull from though? They pull only from bench number one. So we'll say what happened now. Now you have a vacancy on bench 1. So how do you fill that vacancy? So the Gemara says, we take one guy from bench number 2, move him to bench number 1. One from bench number 3 comes to bench number 2. And then they would go ahead and choose a person from the general populace, from the base medrash, and they would put him on bench number 3. Both said there was no such thing as being plucked from the base medrash and automatically going to bench number 1. You have to work your way through the system called Echad. The Echad, we'll say incredible yisod, especially for Kodesh Elul. If you want greatness in life, there's no such thing as starting from the base medrash and going to bench number 1. You go to bench 3, you go to bench 2, and if you work hard enough in Yirtzeh Hashem B'Shal Tov Mitzvahos, you get to bench number 1. So let's say the hashgacha pratis of this. The hashgacha pratis is one of the incredible things. I've done it many times. I haven't done it the last couple of years at the Institute. I highly recommend it if you'd like to Israel. They just put together a video presentation of what they believe the Lishkas HaGazis is going to look like in the third Beis HaMikdash. The Lishkas HaGazis is what's being described here as the chamber of hewn stone, which is the chamber where the Sanhedrin meets. They actually have it designed. They have floor plans. I was embarrassed because they have more detailed floor plans for the Bayis Shlishi than I have for my building. But in any event, but Mamish, they're ready, and they have it mapped out, and it's amazing. They have the stenographers, but they also have audio visuals. See, here's the incredible thing I learned about this, which is we often think like the third Beis HaMikdash has to resemble the second and the first. But we often wonder to ourselves, well, what's going to happen like with all the modern advances in technology? So they quoted, I don't remember who it was, some Rishonim Achronim, who say, no, the Bayis Shlishi has to resemble in certain ways the Sheni and the Sheni in certain dimensions, certain details, certain kelim. But in terms of advances in technology, so they have it drawn with elevators, they have it drawn with video conferencing. The facade itself is magnificently beautiful and modern. It's amazing. I was crying. My children are looking like, please, can we get out of here already? It is absolutely amazing. And now this is what's being described right over here. Hashgacha pratis. Anyway, it says the Gemara. So I'll say, how do we know that the Sanhedrin was seated in a semicircle? Rabbi Achab is standing, quoted the pasuk from Shira Shir. Agan Hasar al Yechzer HaMezek, which literally means your navel is like a moon-shaped basin. Al Yechzer HaMezek, the dilution should not be lessened. What does this mean? Sarecha zu Sanhedrin. So says the Sarecha, so this is a play on words. Lashon of Surara, Lashon of monarchy, of Malchus, of rulership. This refers to the Sanhedrin. So ultimately, again, why is it called? But why is the Sanhedrin compared ultimately again to the navel? Because it sits literally in the navel of the world. What does that mean? Yerushalayim is considered to be the center of the world. The Sanhedrin sits in the center of the Beis HaMikdash, the center of Yerushalayim, center of the world. Agan, Shihimagina Kola Olam Kula. Why is it called an Agan? So again, it's a play on words. Agan literally means a basin. But here it's a notion of Megina from protection, because it protects the world. As so many, we discuss this in some of the Agarit Sanhedrin, that when you deliver proper judicial rulings, that ultimately a person becomes a shutaf to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Ma'aseh Bereishis. Kul Hasar, why is it compared to the moon? Shidom Hasar, because ultimately it's compared to the moon. How is it compared to the moon? Because Rashi points out, just like the moon often appears in a semicircle, so too the Sanhedrin God was seated in a semicircle. So the Gemara says, Al Yechzer HaMezek. What does that mean? You should not go ahead and mess with the dilution. That if one of the judges, one of the 73, one of the 71 needs to go ahead and leave, so then what happens? Ultimately, you make sure that there are at least 23 members corresponding to the Sanhedrin Akata. So the Gemara says, Yotze, then he can leave. So we'll say the idea over here is, it's an amazing episode, also just leadership. That if one of the members of the Sanhedrin, let's say he has a personal conflict, you could take care of your personal business as long as the Sanhedrin is intact. So as long as there are 23 members remaining, then you could leave to take care of your urgent personal business. But if Lamaisa, if you leave, there's not going to be at least 23 members of the Sanhedrin intact, then you may not leave to take care of your personal business. It's an incredible sort of leadership. When a person takes upon themselves a position of leadership in Klal Yisrael, their personal needs come second, the needs of the Klal become first. So the Gemara goes weiter. Okay, so now once the Gemara is dashing some psukim, the Gemara is quoting over here also, same pasuk from Shir Hashirim, bitnei aremas chitin, literally your stomach is like a pile of wheat. What does that mean? Still, we're understanding the entire pasuk is a reference to the Sanhedrin. Ma'aremas chita kol nenu mimena. Just like a pile of wheat, everyone gets benefit from it. Sanhedrin kol nenu mitameh. So to the Sanhedrin, everyone gets benefit from the rulings and from the reasonings of the Sanhedrin. So in other words, everyone benefits from the rulings that the Sanhedrin puts forward. Suga Bashoshani. So we'll say here, the Gemara is all the same pasuk in Shir Shem, Paradigm pasuk. Suga Bashan really means like a hedge of roses. Shafilu kisuga shoshanim lo yifritzu bahen pratzos. So it's actually quite interesting. That even if you take a look at Rashi, it's a little bit further down on the daf. Suga Bashoshanim, Gidura Bashoshanim Kilomar, Ba'ashara Kalu Ba'avdallah Mu'etes. We'll say the Gemara is now painting a picture over here of the incredible respect that the general populace had for the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin was so respected that they did not have to create great gedarim, great protective boundaries around their rulings to make sure their rulings would be enforced, but rather kisuga b'shoshanim, even if they just enclosed their rulings with a hedge of roses. How much of a barrier is a hedge of roses? Not much. But the Sanhedrin was held in such high regard that their rulings were accepted. There wasn't a need for a stone wall to create a protective barrier. It's also, when you think about this, we live in an age where in general there's just such a lack of respect for authority. And not only that people love to find problems and find holes and find deficiencies in leaders and across the spectrum. So it's easy to think about the Sanhedrin that had the respect of the populace. Obviously, that speaks to the quality and the caliber of the judges as well. They have to be men who are beyond reproach. An incredible yisod. So the Gemara goes like, listen to this. And this is what the particular heretic, happy Tori Zitra Kana. Amiso, Nida Shari Yahudi Bahadigav. Well, see, there's an interesting halacha. We know that there is a prohibition of yichud. That a man is not permitted to be secluded with any woman who is in erva to him. So any woman who is prohibited to, you're not allowed to be alone. Yet amazingly enough, right, a woman who's in nida is in erva. Right, chashal man has relations with a woman who's in nida is chashal by karis. So she's in erva. Yet the halacha is a husband is permitted to be miyachid with his wife when she is when she's in nida. So this particular ministry, how could it be that Chazal allowed? I remember nida to me. Yichud is a derabbanan. How could it be that the rabbis allowed for a man to be alone with his wife when she's in nida? After is it possible for the fire to burn in the flax and for not to totally consume the flax? In other words, a husband has an incredible desire for his wife. So how could we trust him that he's going to overcome that desire and not be with her? Amalei haTorah he'ida alinu suga b'shoshanim. The Torah said about the Sanhedrin that when the Sanhedrin makes a ruling, even if all they put around it is a hedge of roses, the people will listen. And when the Sanhedrin makes a ruling, the people respect it. The Sanhedrin said that a man is permitted to go ahead and be alone with his wife when she is in nida. They trusted that individual not to be consumed by his passions and to engage in an illicit act, and therefore people respect the rulings of the Sanhedrin. I will say, now the Gemara Sechs Nida, so discusses this in there because it's a good kasha. Why isn't there an Isser Yichud when a woman is in nida? So remember, the Gemara advances the idea of pas b'salo, that literally bread in the basket. But because a man knows that his wife is going to be permitted to him after a certain amount of time, that's able to quiet the fires of desire. That's the svara for why there's not an Isser Yichud. Okay, Shlakish said from here, Kiphalach Harimon Rakaseh. This is actually a very beautiful. This idea of his words right now has many references in Elul as well. So quoting over here from Shir Hashirim, Kiphalach Harimon Rakaseh, literally like the section of the Rimon Rakaseh are your temples. As Limar darshins it, Afilu Rekana Shabacha Malay Mitzvos Kalima. Was that even the emptiest Jew is filled with mitzvos like the seeds in a pomegranate. That's how the Gemara is dashing it over here. Like the section, like if you cut open a ribbon and you see all of the seeds in there, even the emptiest seed, there's no such thing as a Jew who's devoid of Kedusha. There's no such thing as a Jew who's devoid of holiness. Every Jew, no matter how far he or she has strayed, is filled with beautiful Kedusha, just like the pomegranate is filled with seeds. Beautiful. Rabbi Zera said from here, Vayarach Hashem esriach begadav. So the pasuk says, Vayarach Hashem begadav. So the pasuk says, what's this time by the Bechorah? When Yaakov comes disguised as Esau, wearing Esau's clothing. So the pasuk says that Yitzchak smelled reach begadav, the scent of Yaakov's clothing. Al tikri begadav ela bogdav. This is so beautiful. Don't read it as begadav, his clothing. Rather, read it as bogdav, his rebellious one. So what does that mean? If the Ribono Shel Olam is able to smell the reach nichoach, the pleasing aroma, even of bogdav, even ultimately again of those who rebel against him. Even those Jews who actively go against the Ribono in the Ribono Shel Olam's scent, the Ribono Shel Olam is a very sensitive sense of smell. He could pick up even the faintest scent of Kedusha. Which also tells you another incredible yesod, which is we have a mitzvah ba'alachta v'dracha. We have a mitzvah she'emelei v'chadosh baruch hu. The Ribono Shel Olam is able to see the mitzvahs in even the emptiest person. Rosham is able to pick up the scent of Kedusha, even in the person who looks so far from Kedusha. That's our job as well. That's what it means to be to be able to always try to find something good in someone else, no matter how bad they may look. The Gemara goes weiter. I know about Rabbi Shmuel Silber. Let's do another. I wanted to say Eretz Yisrael longer, but I had to come back to this dot. This is just like I know about Rabbi Shmuel Silber. Let's listen to this. There were these Baryonim. Baryonim literally are. It's normally translated as like ruffians. No good mix. No good mix. These are not good guys who lived in the neighborhood of Rabbi Zera. And Rabbi Zera was like, Rabbi Zera was like the first Chabadnik. Right? Rabbi Zera was like pretty putting on. Did you put on tefillin today? Right? He was always trying to makarev that. Because he felt, Rabbi Zera felt, that if people are good, and if they're bad, it's usually because of something that's happened in their life. So if you just bring them close, they'll come back and they'll do tshuva. So you kept bringing them closer, or that they do tshuva. And the rabbis were very unhappy about this. The rabbis felt that Rabbi Zera's behavior was inappropriate. These guys were bad guys, and they should be distant from people. So this is like a major hashkafic debate. It's a major hashkafic debate about how you deal with the Jews who are outside the fold. And not just that, I'm not talking about Jews who don't know. What about Jews who are actively against, like vitriolic in their response to Torah? What do you do? So the Rabbanan say, you know what? Sometimes you have to just circle the wagons and you have to bolster what we have. Rabbi Zera says no. If the Jew is Ishlav, if the Jew is fire and brimstone against Yiddishkeit, it's because something bad has happened. They've had some kind of negative occurrence, or they misunderstood something. But if you bring them close, if you show them that we love each other, if you show them such a beautiful Yiddishkeit, that everything is wonderful, they'll come back. This is the Machlokes of Rabbi Zera and the Rabbanan. So what happens? Let's listen to how the story ends. Rabbi Zera dies. Rabbi Zera dies. Get ready for this. Amri, ad ha'idna haba charicha katin sake, gavi boy alan rachame. They used to call Rabbi Zera the short man with singed legs. Now, the short man is because he was short. Singed legs is because of a meiser that Rashi points out that we actually learned about in the Seches Tainis. Rabbi Zera one time was in an oven. Whatever, I'm not going to go through the story right now. His legs got singed. So they said, now that the short man with singed legs died, so he says, the boy avon rachame. He used to daven for us every single day. Man boy alei rachame. Who is going to daven for us now? So we'll say, so what happened? Here Baru. By the way, this is Elul Gemara. Here Baru. They did Hirur Tshuva. It was Hirur Tshuva is the first step of Tshuva. They were Maharer, they had thoughts of Tshuva in their heart, Va'avdu Tshuva. We'll say, you see what happens? You see what happens with a little bit of love? You see what happens when you bring people close? We'll say, it's an incredible yesod. You have to understand one important thing. Sometimes the impact that we have on people is not known until years and years later. Sometimes the impact we have on people, we don't even know during our lifetime. Sometimes it takes, I can have an impact on a person, and I won't know until I leave this world, and then suddenly they understand the impact, and then only then does my neshama know the impact. But you never give up on people. You never, ever give up on people. It's easy to say I'm done. It's easy to push away. It's easy to say what I need this relationship for. I'm happier without it. You never give up on people, because when people act in inappropriate ways, because there's some deeper pain, there's some deeper wound that's there. And if you just struggle to keep them close some way, somehow, that love will pay off. Incredible. Shalosh shuros. Shalosh shuros. We can stop there, right? Shalosh shuros. But we're not. Shalosh shuros. It gets better. Shalosh shuros. So let's remember again, there were 3 rows of Talmidei Chacham behind the Sanhedrin. Rabbi said, Shema, Kinai Dikulunai. So let's listen to this. Remember, we spoke about the idea that when there was a vacancy on the Sanhedrin itself, they pulled someone from the first row, which then means everyone got uprooted a little bit, right? Then someone from the second row came from the first, someone from the third row came from the second, and then they pulled someone from the base measures to go on to the third row. So the Gemara says, Shabbai, so you see from here that when one person was pulled, everyone moved. Remember, in Aramaic, Dalet and Zayin are interchangeable. So the Bidandi is Zanvi. Before I was sitting at the head, now you're putting me at the tail. The Bible says, what does this mean? This is amazing, by the way, how people get things in their mind. So let's say up until now, I was a third bench guy. But I was the top of the third bench. Now you're going to move me, and where am I going to go? I'm going to go to the second bench, but what? I'm going to be at the end of the second bench. It's an incredible yesod into ego, right? But one second, isn't it objectively better to be on the second bench than the third bench? No, we know what's best. It's best to be the head. That's what it's best. It's best to be the boss. I'm the boss of what? It doesn't matter. Just tell me that I'm the boss. Tell me I'm the boss of something. So the guy in the third row, I was very happy being the head of the third row. I was the guy. I was the man of the third row. Now I'm like the freshman of the second row. I don't want to be there. So we see Rabbi. The good thing is that Yiddishkeit is not a democracy. Rabbi, we say to him, it's not your choice. It's incredibly so. We say to him, better to be tail to lions than to be a head to foxes. Now, obviously, we're not saying that the third row is foxes and check it out, but the idea of being is you're given the privilege to move higher. So yes, in that first integration into this new strata of holiness, there's no question that you start at the bottom. But the same way you work your way up the third bench, you work your way up the stairs. So we'll say sometimes we get to a point, so much more in this Gemara, sometimes we get to a point that we feel accomplished. And the truth is, I'm happy. If I push myself more, I have to start all over again. I don't want to start all over again. So Abai saying is, don't be afraid. Push yourself a little bit more. Yes, so you're the freshman in the new class of Kedusha. But the same way you pushed yourself to the top of the third bench, the Shatou Mitzachas, you'll push yourself to the top of the next benches as well. Incredible. Mishnah. Ketzad Ma'amin Asaidim. So we'll say, now the Gemara is going to talk about it. Now, Ma'amin literally means intimidation. Witness intimidation doesn't sound like a good thing. But what it means over here is the following. We want the witnesses to understand the severity, and this is in Dina and Nefash's cases, the severity of the testimony they're going to give. So you want to impress upon, you want to kind of put the fear of God into them to make sure that they're saying the truth. So how do we put the fear into them? So we say to them, so we bring them into Beis Din, we say to them the following. So we say to them, is it possible that you arrive at your conclusions through umad? I will say umad is conjecture. Now what it really means is circumstantial evidence. We'll discuss what this means in just a moment. Or maybe you heard about events and you're making it sound as if you saw it firsthand. Or maybe you saw it ADPA, or you heard it one witness from another witness. Or we Adam Naman, or you heard it from someone who was trustworthy. Shema Iyatem Yodim. So in other words, the first thing we say is, did you actually witness the entire event from beginning to end yourselves? Or is it you have circumstantial evidence that you hear from someone else? Do you also know that we're going to grill you? We're going to ask you all kinds of questions to determine the veracity of your statement. You should also know that maritary law is not like capital law. So because if you make a mistake in monetary law, you can rectify it simply by repaying the aggrieved party. However, Dina Nefashos, I will say, if witnesses testify falsely or wrongly, and as a result, someone is executed, then what happens? Damo, the blood of the executed, person, the dam zar osaf, zar osaf, his offspring, to luyin ba'at sofola. We'll say, so we say to the witnesses, if you wrongly execute someone, know that you are not only responsible for the death of the defendant, but all future generations that could have come from this person are also on your head. Because we see that Cain killed his brother. Because the pasuk said, Kadosh Baruch Hu says to Cain, the blood of your brother is crying out to me from the ground. I will say, it doesn't say the blood of your brother, rather, demei, bloods, plural. Damo, the dam zarosa, his blood, and the bloods of his descendants. So we see about that when you wrongly kill someone, you're responsible for their death as well as the death of future descendants. Davar acher. Furthermore, we say to him, damachicha. What else does it mean, damachicha? What's it on the Josh on the pasuk? Shahaya dama mushach ala itzim va'avar. The Nebuch will discuss this, that the blood of Hevel was splattered on the trees and on the stones. Leficha nivra adam yichidi. Therefore, Rabbi the Gemara says a person was created singular. Now, if you look at Rashi for just a moment, look at the second white line. Leficha nivra adam yichidi. Calls the Omer lahem leficha nivra adam yichidi lahar oscha shemei adam echad nivru melao shalom. We're trying to do to the witnesses, we're trying to impress upon them the value of one human life. One human life. God created all of humanity, began with one, even though, again, obviously, humanity could not go on without two people, but he created one person to begin with. Why? To show us the importance of one human life. The Gemara says, to teach you that if you take one life, it's as if you destroyed the entire world. And I will say, if you go in and you save one Jewish life, it's as if you have upheld an entire world. Also listen to this. Furthermore, listen to this. Also, God created all of humanity from one person to create shalom among people. I will say, how so? I have bitter yichus than you. Right? So we'll say, no one can really say, I have bitter yichus than you. Why? Why? Because of us, we all trace our yichus to the same point, which is, good morning, Mr. Schoenfeld. I was waiting. I stopped random people on the street. The Gemara says, no one can ever brag about their yichus. Why? Why? Because also we all trace our yichus to the same source. All of us to Adam Arishon. Right? And furthermore, again, the heretics cannot say there are multiple gods. You must say if there are multiple human beings created in the beginning, one could say one God created this one God created that one. There was only one human being. Therefore, again, only one God. And also tells the greatness of God. Man, when he mints the coin, they all look the same. This is amazing. God mints many coins, mints each of us, and each of us are minted in the image of Adam, yet we are each dramatically different. So we'll say, therefore, each of us have to say, in a healthy way, the world was created for me. See, we'll say the entire thrust of this is one life is of paramount importance. One life is as important as the rest of the world, which means, what does it mean all the world was created for me? Let's look at the last Rashi before you turn the page. Last Rashi. Each of us have to see to ourselves, I am as important as the rest of the world. So if you put the humanity on one side of the scale and me on the other side of the scale, I would be just as important as everyone else. Therefore, what does that mean? I will say, listen to this. Therefore, I will not allow myself to be derailed from my mission in life through the commission of an Aveira. See, I will say, if I'm important and my life has value and I have a mission and I have a mandate and the whole world is created for me, you can't get derailed. See, Aveiros, forget about the Onesh. Aveiros are terrible because they derail us from our mission, because they distract us from what we're really supposed to accomplish. If I'm so important that at the end of the day, I will not fall prey to my passions and proclivities, I will remain focused on my mission in life. On the base. So once I said, so remember, this is the whole speech given to the Sanhedrin, from the Sanhedrin to the witnesses. So if you're one of those witnesses, right? What are you thinking about right now? I'm out of it, right? What do I need this for? Shema Tomru Ma'aladu L'Tzara Hazos. So the witnesses are going to say, what do we need with this, right? Why do I need this headache? So Balukar Ne'emar Vuhu Eid Ora Oyad. So both sides, the witnesses are going to say, what do I need this for? I need this to go home ahead. Right? They're going to tell me about it. Because remember, so you can have witnesses whose entire desire is to just tell over the truth. But sometimes just mistakes happen. So what do we need this for? So the Gemara said, the Sanhedrin says, no, Pasuk says, who aid or raw or yada, and because there's a biblical obligation that if you know testimony, you have to deliver it. The Shema Tomru Ma'alanu Lacho B'damo Shalzeh, Balok Varne'emar Ba'avod Shamina. Maybe the witnesses will say, but 1 second, even if the guy is guilty, why should his death be on our heads? Why should his death be on our heads? To which the Sanhedrin says to the Eidim, because the death of the righteous is something that, the death of the wicked. The death, when the wicked are taken out from this world arena, there is joy in this world as well. Let's go back there. So we'll say, so when we ask the witnesses, are you arriving at your testimony through circumstantial evidence? What's an example of circumstantial evidence? Did you see the following? So witnesses come and they say, we saw Reuben kill Shimon. So when you say you saw Reuben kill Shimon, did you see the following? Reuben was running after Shimon into a desolate area. You ran after Reuben. Okay? What happens? By the time you caught up with them, by the time you caught up with them, what did you see? You saw Reuben holding a sword with blood on it, and Shimon convulsing in his death throes on the ground. Is that what you saw? If that's what you saw, then you saw nothing. Now, I don't know how it would work in the American legal system, but what's amazing over here in the halacha, you cannot give testimony based on that's called circumstantial evidence. What do you mean circumstantial evidence? The idea is the only way you can give edus is what? Is if mamish you saw Reuben actively kill Shimon. But if by the time you walk on the scene, all you see is Reuben holding the weapon. He's holding the weapon. It's got the blood on it. Shimon is convulsing in the throes of death on the floor. That is not enough to convict. So Shimon ben Shaddai says, I saw this. I saw this. I saw Reuben running after Shimon to Churba. We'll say Churba means a desolate area. I ran after him. And what happens? And I saw the sword in his hand. I saw Shimon on the ground dying. And what happens? I said to Reuben, Russia! I said, Reuben, you're Russia. Because who killed Shimon? O Ani, O Ata. There's no one else here. So there are only one of two people who could have killed Shimon. It was either you or it was me. And I know it wasn't me. We both know it was you. But what could I do? Because you cannot be found guilty in a court of law. Amra Torah, Apishna and Eden Yumas Hames. Now, remember over here, Shimon Shedach has a different issue. What's a different issue? He's an Eid Echad. But again, even had there been someone else with him, as we just saw before, they would not be able to convict based on this circumstantial evidence. But nevertheless, what does he say? But Rosh Hashanah says, but the one who knows the thoughts and ours, the one who knows what you did, he should exact punishment from you. Amru lo zazu misham ad sheba nachash ve'kisho v'meis. They didn't move from there. We'll say in that very moment, the snake came, bit Reuben, bit the murderer, and he died. So you must say, now watch this. But why did Reuben, the murderer, deserve to die through a snake? After all, Rabbi Yosef, Miyom shecharav beis hamikdash, afal pi Shabbat v'Sanhedrin arba misos labatu. This is amazing. The Gemara says, even though the Beis Hamikdash is no longer in existence, right? Even though the Sanhedrin is no longer in existence, and because there's no Sanhedrin, remember again, when there's no Sanhedrin Agadol, capital cases cannot be tried. So that means there's no death penalties. But nevertheless, arba misos labatu. Rabbi say the 4 death penalties are not batal. So you must say but that's not true. If you say there's no Sanhedrin and there's no death penalties, elef din arba misos labatu. Rather, what it means is the din of the arba misos is not batal. What does that mean? Mishin is chayiv skiva. Rabbi say if somebody was deserving stoning, so what happens? On nofel menagad o chayav darsoso. Either he falls off a roof or he's killed by an animal. So I said, you might just talk about over here that Hakadosh Baruch Hu has different ways of delivering these types of punishments, even in the absence of a beis din. Someone's chayiv skila, he would either fall off a roof, or a chayira would eat them. Mishin is chayiv streifa. Somebody got the was chayiv streifa. Or nofel b'dleika, they would fall in a fire. Or nachash makisho, or a snake would bite them. So we'll say, so you see that a snake bite is for someone who's chayiv streifa. Now the punishment for murder is saif, right? Is death by a sword. Death by a sword. So that's the Gemara's kasha is going to be, why is it that this individual is bitten by a snake, which is streifa, he should get side. Mishin is chayiv hariga, onim solam malchus, or listen by now, somebody was chayiv hariga, so either he'd be given over to the king, or armed robbers would come upon him. Mishin is chayiv chenek, someone who's chayiv for strangulation, o taveh banar, or mis bisarchuna. Either he would drown, or he would die suchuni. We'll say suchuni is some type of disease where the air passage is constricted. So the shiloh over here is this individual is really chayiv hariga, saif, death by a sword. Why would he be killed ultimately again through the snake bite, which is streifa? This individual apparently had other sins associated with him as well, for which he was chayiv for streifa. Damar Mishin is chayiv shtei misos beis din nido mechamura. What the halacha is that any person who is chayiv 2 misos beis din, bad news. If you chayiv 2 misos beis din, is chayiv 2 death penalties. And he's given the more severe of the death penalties. So therefore, again, out of saif and streifa, like out of saif and streifa, death by sword and death by fire, so streifa is considered to be a more severe form of death. Therefore, again, he was given that penalty. Fine, mu'umad. So we'll say, now remember, so we discussed the idea that by doing a fashos, we say to the witnesses, are you sure that you have seen what you claim to see directly, and you're not basing your testimony based on conjecture or circumstantial evidence? So the Gemara says, "Beginning the fashos who delam dinan." It's only ultimately again in the fashos that we say that you can't testify based on circumstantial evidence. How b'dinei mamonus am dinan? But we'll say it appears that by dinei mamonus, by monetary law, you can base your testimony based on circumstantial evidence. Ravacha says, Gamal ha'ocher bin hagimalim, v'nimsa gamal harod b'tzido. We'll say if you find a camel mating amongst the other camels. So apparently camels get a little bit violent during mating. I guess they kick. And you find another, might come in handy. Yeah, so and what happens? You find a dead camel by it. You find a dead camel by the camel that was mating. So what happens? Biyadua shezeh hargo. So we'll say, you know that the mating camel was the one who killed it. Now we'll say, now what is this? This is arriving at a conclusion how? Through circumstantial evidence. So you see over here that in financial matters, you can go ahead and use what we call circumstantial or conjecture. Well, for a second, using that same logic, therefore you're going to say, now let's say by din in the fashos, we'll say, if the witness got his testimony one witness from another, that's not valid. Are you telling me then that in monetary law, if I get testimony from another witness, that is admissible in court? So the about time we learned, if I come to court to one side and I testify, Amarli shani chayevlo, that Reuben said to me that he's chayiv to pay money to Shimon, or Ishponi Amarli shu chayevlo, or Shimon told me that Reuben is chayiv to pay money. Well, Amar Klum, we'll say such testimony is ineffective. Ad shiyomer b'fanenu holdolo shu chayiv l'masayim zuz. We'll say in terms of monetary law, the only time it works is if I testify and I say Reuben admitted to Shimon in front of us that he owes Shimon $1,000. So you see from here that again, aid, getting testimony from another doesn't work with dinei mamonos as well. Alma afagav the psili b'dinei mamonos, amrina luhu b'dinei nefashos, amrina luhu b'dinei nefashos. Hachanami afagav the psili b'dinei mamonos, amrina luhu b'dinei nefashos. So therefore, the Gemara says the following. What it comes down to is the following: that inachinami, this aid doesn't work by dinei mamonos as well. And I will say it's by dinei mamonos when people come to testify about monetary matters in Beis Din. We don't give them this whole spiel prior to their testimony. If it turns out that the testimony they're giving is based on information they got from someone else, then we will tell them after the fact that your testimony is inadmissible. It's only by dinei nefashos, by capital cases, that we give them the whole spiel outright. We give them this whole speech on the front end telling them that just know the only way your testimony will be admissible is if you have actually seen these events yourself, but not if you have received it from another. Let's go a little bit weiter. Haviyodim. I'm going to do the Rabbi Malami. Sha'asa Kain. Remember, the Gemara quoted the episode of Kain and Hevel to teach us that just as Kain was held responsible not only for the death of Hevel, but for the death of any future potential descendants of Hevel, so to witnesses, if you testify falsely, not only are you responsible for the death of that particular individual, but for future generations as well. So the Gemara says, I'm going to be brave up here. Malami. Sha'asa Kain be'Hevel achiv chaburos petzios. It says so tragic. It was like Cain battered Hevel repeatedly. Because why? Because it was like no one knew how to take a life. No one knew how to take a life. So Cain somehow intuitively knew that if he hurt his brother enough, he would end his life, but he didn't know from where. From where? How could I strike him in a way that would end his life? So he hit him repeatedly until he got to his neck, and with the blow to the neck is ultimately how he killed him. So the Gemara says that from the day apparently the earth opened up and swallowed up the blood of Hevel. From the day that the earth opened up and swallowed up the blood of Hevel, the earth has never opened up again. Literally from the edge of the earth, we have heard beautiful songs, Tzvi Latzadik, praise for the righteous. Even when the earth sings, it sings from its edge, below me pure, so not from the mouth. Someone's using it as a right to say the earth never opened up again after it swallowed up Hevel's blood. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What about Korach? The earth opened up and swallowed up Korach. Ultimately, again, the earth only opened, the last time the earth opened up for good was by Hevel. It never opened up for good again. For bad things, like the swallow of Korach, so what does this mean? That apparently, again, the earth did Hevel an incredible tova. What was the tova? That the blood of Hevel was spread out everywhere. And there was a terrible lack of cover to Hevel. The earth opened up, swallowed up all of Hevel's blood in order to maintain the dignity of Hevel. That was the last time the earth ever opened its mouth with tova for something good. Unfortunately, all subsequent acts of the earth opening up were only l'roa, only negatively, specifically again by the swallowing up of Korach Vadras. So I have to stop over here. We'll pick up right over here tomorrow morning. Again, tomorrow is the Chodesh again. A lot of Gemara as well. So the sessions are best. So again, share tomorrow 5:45, Shachris at 6:30.